I don't take days off, do I? When my number is called, I don't take plays off, do I? I'ma always give you 20 and 10, no matter how much you wanna pretend that I ain't clutch with it. I don't do the load management, baby I can handle it. When the heat is on, I can manage it. I'm kinda like James Harden's career, I can walk whenever I feel, and that's facts.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Others Receiving Votes podcast, sponsored by M-Glow. I'm your host, Loren Woods, a.k.a. Big Low. And man, I was talking to one of my friends the other day, another professional athlete, former professional athlete, actually, and we were talking about how much it sucks to get old. No, but man, we were talking about how much we've grown, because we're watching some guys right now who are playing, and these guys actually, I got drafted when I was 22 back in 2001, and it was a couple of guys who came in maybe 2 or 3 years after me, who's still playing right now, getting it in. Got the athleticism, not the same athleticism, but still have it. Skill work is great, all of that. But, you just look at these players and you just see how much they've developed over, 15, 20 years. And my friend and I were talking about the same thing. I started out in the NBA and then I played overseas. I finished out my career overseas, but I was such a different player after I went overseas. A more mature player, a more complete player, in all facets of the game and in life, honestly, emotionally, intellectually, psychologically, everything was just so much more complete as I got older, even though I was like in my late 30s playing against dudes that were like in their early 20s and mid 20s, man. And I'm talking about like some guys that could go. And it was tough. It was tough, man. It was tough for me to keep up, but I did what I had to do. And, we were just talking and I was thinking about why that happens. And it doesn't always happen to everybody, but I guess the main reason it does happen to players is, you got to embrace the change and embrace the different situations and embrace the new norm. And I think for me, all of that changed when I went overseas for the first time. And that was like in 2007, 2008. And, people have heard me say it. I've said it on the show a few times. I thought that I was the shit when I first went overseas, and, I almost got my butt handed to me a few times, with that attitude. But, I changed quickly. And I think that was very early on in my career, growth that I needed to help me, become a better player and to actually help me prolong my career. I know that for a fact. And I think that, just that change of environment, that change of scenery, that embracing that new norm that I had, even though I wanted so desperately to get back in the NBA when I first played overseas, and I did actually. I actually accomplished that goal. I went overseas. I played for 2 years, and then I wanted to get back, and I actually signed back another year after. That was around, I guess, like my 7th or 8th year playing professionally, maybe 8th or 9th year. But, it was all about that growth. And that's something that I think most people, they resist it. And everybody wants to be better. Everybody wants to be complete. Everybody wants to, be more mature. If they know, or if they knew, I think going into it, that it would make them better in the beginning, no matter how difficult things are or how different the situation is, if you accept that responsibility or accept that growth at that time, and it's going to make you more complete. It's going to make you more mature. And I think if people knew from the beginning, then they would just accept it and do it. But what a lot of the time is you just don't trust the process. I know that's been like a thing, like this trendy statement that, people are throwing around, trust the process and whatever. But it's actually true. You work on yourself, you work on any situation that you get thrown in, you work as hard as you can, or you do the best you possibly can to get through that situation, to get on the other side, to get, no matter how dangerous or how tumultuous that crossing that bridge might be, you got to do it, because once you get on the other side, you become a better person. And in my case, I became a better player, 10 times better. I believe I was a better player, when I was 38, when I retired, 38, 39, than I was when I was 28, 29. Now, I didn't have that same athleticism. I wish I'd have had that, But anyway, enough about me. Let's get to the show. I'm super excited about this next guest that we have on the show. Not only because, he's a amazing world-class basketball player. I got a chance to see him play and actually be teammates with him when he was, in his earlier days, getting it in, balling out of control and giving everybody work. But, he's still playing right now, still playing at a very high level. But it's not because of that, but also because, the guy comes from a different background than a lot of the guests that we've had on the show. Mostly all of our guests are basketball minds, basketball players or coaches from America. And that's just one perspective. But this guy, he comes from Europe, and he has a totally different perspective, and we forget that everybody has this same dream. We got brethren all over the world that have the same dream, no matter where you're from, country, race, religion, background. We got this hoop dream, man, and we want to make it to the highest level and do something we love and get paid for it. So, I can't wait for him to tell his story. Coming all the way from the United Kingdom, Ryan Richards. Ryan, what's up, man?
What's going on, brother? It's happy to be on and share my experiences, my story.
Man, I love it, man. And I'm super excited about this because, like I said, we all have this dream or this goal to reach it to the highest level in basketball, and being American and coming from America, we kind of get short-sighted about, everybody else in the world trying to get to the NBA, or everybody else in the world trying to get to the same destinations that we get to and stuff like that. So super, super excited to, for you to let everybody know your story. And, we can just get right into it. Tell us a little bit about your basketball journey from the beginning, back when you were a little tyke, all the way up through currently to your pro career.
Yeah, so basically I'm, as you said, Ryan Richards. I'm from the UK. My father's from Jamaica, my mother's from England, and I was born and raised here. Growing up, basketball wasn't a thing in England. It was all football, soccer for you guys. And I never really...
I'm glad you clarified that, because, a lot of guys would have been like, oh, y'all play football out there too? Yeah, maybe I can get in some football leagues in England. No, it's soccer.
Nah. It's all football, soccer. So I played that my whole... from when I was 5 years old to I would say probably 12, 13, which was huge. I recommend any parent to get their kid into football, soccer and basketball. It's great for footwork. But my brother came over from Jamaica, my half brother, when I was about 13 years old. And that's when And One was a huge hype, huge thing back then. And I saw he loved And One. He had the high socks, the headband, the finger sleeves, everything. And I kind of was amazed by him. I'm a British kid with my brother from Jamaica that come over, and I just kind of started playing, and then the competitiveness come out where I wanted to get into basketball, but there was no facilities, there was no teams, there was no clubs, there's no AAU in England, there's no high school basketball, there's nothing. So it was purely just a dream of going to the park, playing with my brother every day. And I managed to find a club that was about 2 hours from where I'm from in the south of Kent. And my mum would drive me there twice a week. I would get the train down there after school, and I would work out for an hour and a half. So I would finish school, as we had no basketball in school, and I would go 2 hours down on the train and then work out for an hour and a half and 2 hours back. And even when I finished that, I was in the park, just dribbling. No basketball hoops. There was a football pitch, but concrete for like street football. And I would just be on there dribbling, and I used to wear soccer shoes to play basketball. And I got noticed by a scout from Estudiantes, which is in Spain. who had a player that was from England. And they were like, "Oh, there's this tall kid, he's 6'9", he's 14 years old, real skinny, and And he came over and watched me play. And then from there, people started getting a buzz. I started playing for the England national team, where we play against, in the European Championships, where we play against other countries, your Spains, your Germanys, your France. And when you guys in America think of Europe, that's the cream of the crop. France, Spain, Germany, no one thinks of England. They have no respect. It's just not a thing for us. So I ended up just going, kind of how you have your recruitment trips in America. I had the decision to go to Gran Canaria or to go to Estudiantes, which is in Madrid. And I decided to go to Gran Canaria. They took care of me and my family. We decided to go there. And in 1 year, I caught the attention of the head coach of Duke, the head coach of Kentucky now, and at the Nike Hoop Summit, where the world plays against the USA.
Yep.
So this time I'm 15 and we're playing against Kevin Love, Patrick Patterson, Derrick Rose, OJ Mayo. So now I've gone from never playing an official basketball game to 1 year in Spain to playing in Memphis Arena, watching Sean Marion play the Suns play against the Memphis Grizzlies. This is all in 18 months. This is how quick it went for me.
Wow.
And I was picked as the most talented player on the court for the world select team. That was including Nicholas Batum, Omar Caspi, Alex Ajinka, some of the, guys that played in the league. And once I went there, after the game, as I said, I had, Tyler Perry, Coach Krzyzewski talking to me after the game. I had maybe 100 agents coming up to me. Where are you from? Who's your team? And I had nobody. I just was with one guy from Spain that believed that I had what it took and wanted to throw me in the deep end, and it went really well. But with that comes, the ugly side of basketball. I was hidden. I was taken back to Spain. I wasn't allowed to play in any exposure tournaments. I wasn't allowed to play with the national team because this guy realized that he had a gem and he wanted to keep me for as many years as possible under the radar and then bring me back around draft time, which would have been 4 years. So for 4 years, I played in a bunch of leagues, a bunch of countries, a month here, 2 months there. I didn't really have a setup like a lot of Europeans. You're like your Luka Doncic, those type of guys. I didn't really have that structure. I got in with some people that were just thinking about themselves and not about my future. So about 1 year before I was draft eligible, I met a guy, Daryl Reshaw from Atlanta, who kind of told me what was going on, that, you're being hidden, that, back then there wasn't social media. This is 2008, 7. It wasn't like it is now, And we left this guy that was kind of managing me poorly, and we went to the European Championships, where I think I averaged 30 and 15. We went to the Nike international tournaments, which I would say is equivalent to like your AAU tournaments. Then I flew over to Rice University to work out with John Lucas. And I actually remember my first day I got there, we were playing 5-on-5 with Big Baby, Yao Ming, Steve Francis. And I was, 17 at the time, just out there hooping, doing my thing, feeling myself, cocky, confident. And for 6 weeks, this man made me play only defense on J.R. Smith, Gerald Green, Sean Williams, and Big Baby. For 6 weeks. I was not allowed to take a jump shot. I was not allowed to. I didn't shoot jump shots back then, actually. The funny story is Big Baby actually cracked me in the chest when he was getting ready to come out of LSU. And after that, I didn't want to go in the paint for probably a year. So I developed a jump shot, and then that's how I actually developed a shot, because I didn't want any of those problems back then. And I got back in the eye. I got back in the eye of scouts, but I wasn't in a typical European program. I wasn't in your Real Madrid, your Barcelonas. I wasn't from a basketball country. So I was an enigma. I was this myth. I was this guy, like, who is this guy? He's 7 foot, coast to coast, step backs. No one knew who I was. And I ended up going back to Gran Canaria because I felt safe. And I got loaned out to Switzerland, played 6 games, and the season was over. So I ended up going to Chicago, working out with some guys. And luckily, I signed with an agent that managed to get me in the draft combine. And once I got in the draft combine, it was over after that. People were like, we remember this guy from, 4 years ago at the Hoop Summit. Where's he been? And there was a lot of red flags, that I didn't create because I didn't have a team around me. I didn't have a group of people that that knew the game. Because if you take a kid from France or a kid from Spain, he can ask the Pau Gasols, the Marc Gasols, he can ask the Tony Parkers, he can ask those guys, who is the best. But when you're from a country like England, when there's nobody, who do you go to, And that was the scary side of it for me. I was alone, but I was hungry and I was ready. I went to the combine and I had some of the best workouts some scouts said they've ever seen. I shot the shit out of the ball. The only time I would say I kind of got just destroyed was against Cousins coming out of Kentucky. I think he was 265 and I think I was maybe 220.
Yeah, he's destroyed a lot of guys. So don't be upset or take that personal.
I didn't take it personal, but I was running through guys that were these top 10, top 20 players, and to me, you got to remember I was playing with Kevin Love. I was playing with those guys before. So to me, I'm seeing those guys, Big Baby. I'm seeing those guys getting their second contract. So my confidence was through the roof because I'm going against guys that are my age or a little bit older. I was 19 at the time. So I ended up getting drafted late round to the Spurs. I actually needed double shoulder surgery, which they knew, and they still picked me, which was surprising. And I was there for the whole season with them. I rehabbed. I had double shoulder surgery. I rehabbed. And then the NBA lockout came. And once the lockout came, I got distracted. I followed the money. I did this for like 6 years with no guidance, with no one to really take me under their wing and kind of show me the way. And I just chased the money. I wherever there was cash, I went. I didn't really make any decisions for my career wise, I would say. It was more so, hey, we're going to play you 30 minutes and you're going to start and we can give you 15 grand a month. And another team would be like, yo, we want you to back this guy up. We'll give you 30. And I would go for that job. I didn't really have any guidance minus the money and securing my future because, as I said, basketball it's not a basketball country. You don't earn a future. You don't buy a house. You don't earn you can't retire on an island by playing basketball. That's kind of the image. And partly of that I regret because I could have maybe had a different career, but you can't look back and regret on certain things. So after that, every summer I went to the summer league with the Spurs. And I had some good games, I had some good games. I had some good experiences, but I didn't really get my chance. Every year they were redrafting and then, I kind of got pushed back. And the saddest part of it was I didn't know that that your rights get, they can only hold your rights for a certain amount of years. When you get drafted, you're not actually signed. And I met another agent that kind of broke that down to me when I was about 23, 24. And at that time, I was pretty heavy in Asia. I was playing there in Iran, where I did very well. And I went to Dubai. I went to China. I just chased the money, because like you said, basketball's not. If I didn't do that, and I look at the situation now with COVID, I don't know where I'd be, if I'm honest with you. And then after that, I had some more injuries and stuff, but I've learned to step back and look at my life and look at what I've achieved for where I'm from. For America, a lot of guys get drafted, right? That's not a huge thing. A lot of guys go to training camp. A lot of guys go to summer league. So for me, at a young age, I'm in the gym with these all Americans, with these, my mentality is as of an American, right? My mentality is not as a European player. I'm not thinking, let me stay in Europe till I'm 22, 23, because I never had a home. I wasn't part of a Spanish club. I wasn't part of a French or a German club. I was kind of just drifting. I was out there and I was like, look, Big Baby's making this. Derek Faber's making this. Cousins making it. I should be making that. And I didn't really trust the process, if you want to call that, but I didn't have a process. I didn't have a process to come from.
It wasn't a process that you weren't even given a process. So
exactly, and people, they look at my highlights, they look at me as a player, they play with me, and they say, "Fuck, dude," But if nobody, and that's why I'm doing my thing now, in England, where I'm finding talent and showing it the path. As you can say, Loren, you must have played with some players that are extremely talented, but they didn't make it. But I'm pretty sure they didn't make it it wasn't because they wasn't in the eye, or they wasn't in AAU, or they wasn't in college basketball. It was off-court issues, It was maybe something went wrong, or maybe an injury. But for me, it was like, where do you go? It's like, you're from England, so if you're not going to be in the NBA, once you don't make the roster, where do you go? You know, if I go to Spain, I'm not Spanish. You know, I'm not an American. You know, I'm seen as a European. And I didn't go through the European system. I kind of did it my own way, and people didn't like that. It was an unknown. Europe, they like to control a lot of things. They like to know, oh, well, this kid went here for 2 years and he played Leb Gold and now he's playing Leb. You know, they like to, everybody likes that in life. You know, they like to understand somebody and see it. But I never had a path. And I think hugely, you know, I believe I'm an NBA talent. I believe I was an NBA player. But the matter of fact is you can have all the talent in the world. If you're not in the eye and you don't have vets or elders in your life, you get lost.
For sure.
Yeah.
Man.
And that's where, you know, even when I met you, you know, we had good talks and we was together, and I think you was maybe pushing 40 then. And I was, you know, 23, 24, and we had Sam, I think Sam Vincent, right, was our coach.
Sam Vincent, yep.
And they were like, damn, you know, dude, you got it. But to me.
From the Boston Celtics, shout out to Sam Vincent.
Yes, sir. And then, you know, for me, you guys are telling me that I got a chance, or, you know, yo, you should. But I've already been doing this for 9 years now. You know, I've already been trying, and I haven't really got anywhere. Not because of, you know, my talent, but because I didn't understand the steps, you know. So coming from Europe, I think I'm very unique. I don't think there's anyone you could ever say from Europe is the same mentality of kind of, you got to eat and you got to get it how you get it. You know, you got to eat yourself, because from those big countries, like I keep mentioning, there's a foundation, there's guys to look up to, and every kid needs someone to look up to. Every kid needs someone to say, yo, you need to be in the gym. Hey, you need to be here. Hey, you need to be there. But when you're the best in your age and there's no path, it's scary, you know, but I managed to have a great career. I managed to make a lot of money. I managed to take care of my family. I managed to see the world, and I'm truly blessed. But I do look back sometimes and say, damn, you know, what if I would have met someone like you when I was 19, 18, you know? What if I would have met some of the vets I met along my way? But I think that's me. Talking about the difference between a European player, a European mindset, and an American mindset is belief. You Americans, man, you believe you're the greatest thing. You know, no one can tell you you're not the best, you know? Yep. You believe that. That's in you. You're bred, you're hungry. And, you know, that was put into me as a kid. That hunger, you know, you got to be the best. No one's going to give you anything. Growing up, you know, mixed race in the UK, you know, in a white area, it's not a white privileged area. You know, it was tough. You got to get it, you know, it's a dog eat dog world. That's how I was raised. So I fitted in the American system, and it did me well. And in the European system, it's belief. You know, you don't believe in yourself. You know, you don't believe you have that confidence. I think it's very rare you get some real special European talents. You know, you get your Luka Doncic, you get your Jokic, you get those guys who just believe, you know. But you get a lot of European players that come over and you see it doesn't work in the States, and they get labeled soft, but I wouldn't call them soft. I just think it's a different game, man. It's a real different game, and you got to be in a different mindset, and you got to be exposed to things at a youth, you know, at a young age. But that being said, like I said again, man, it's been, you know, I'm 29. I still got years to play, but my journey was, you know, very unique. I don't think you could ever find one that's the same. But I would compare it just that belief, man. I've seen guys in the gym in America. I've seen someone score 40 of them, and they still go home and believe they're the best player in their gym that day. You know, Nobody can tell. No one can tell them different. And I respect that. You know, for me, I'm never going to say anyone's better than me. But if a man has the best of me on the day, I'll sit here and say, okay, the guy, he had a better day than me today.
He got me. I'm nice, but he got me today. He got me.
Yeah, he got me. And I think in Europe, it's you know, it's all about paths. It's paths and it's teams, and it's looking up to someone. I think every kid needs someone to look up to. Every kid. But when you're from a country that there's no basketball, there's no one to look up to. How do you do that? How do you trust anybody? You know, how do you know? And it was tough for me, but again, insane experience. I think I've played for over 25 teams now. I've seen the world, and that all came from, you know, basketball with no facilities, with no exposure, with no social media. You know, now a kid can be balling out there at Lifetime Fitness and he can go somewhere. You know, a kid can be hooping in Africa and he can put these videos online and they're like, oh shit.
Yep.
And I think that's the beauty of the game today. You know, kids have got to work. Like I tell these kids I work with now, I'm like, yo, just work. There's no hiding anymore. You know, if you've got it, you've got it. You know, like if we've got it, people are going to see it. You're not going to go under the radar. But a lot of players went under the radar back in my time. A lot of guys just never got there or they never got the exposure. And I don't think that's the case in America. I think I love it when you've got the Damian Lillards. You know, you've got the CJ McCollums, the guys that went to small schools that people didn't even rate or, you know, they wasn't top 100. So even America, they say, is the best at finding talent and as a country. I think you miss a lot of players too. Yeah. And I think in Europe, we miss even more. There's only a certain space for European players. I don't think you can find a team in the NBA, and correct me if I'm wrong, that is majority, let's say, European or international. I think more so now.
Oh, and the Raptors.
Spurs. Yeah, there you go. Spurs and Raptors, exactly.
Spurs and Raptors, that's pretty much it, man. Other than that, Dallas is trying to do that, but
yeah, exactly. But I think now I think in those early, the 2010s early, there was a lot of busts, man. There was a lot of European busts. You know, I remember Jan Mahimi was there before I was there, and they were scared to sign any European players for a while. You know, they were getting pressure from above to try to get some seniors that are been in college for 4 years and stuff, and they were saying they take the risks in the second round. But in the first round, there's that pressure, with these NBA teams. They gotta, especially these first year GMs. I mean, if it's me, like, what do you think about that draft with the Suns? Would you have took? You've played obviously all over. You've played EuroLeague. You've played all over the world. NBA. Would you have took Luka if you were the Suns, or would you have took Aiden?
Well, see, I mean, this is the thing when you talk about a lot of the GMs. I mean, we always criticize, and I'm not talking about we as basketball players, but just period. We criticize the people when they don't make the seems like the obvious decision 5 years later, 10 years later. You know what I mean? It seemed like the obvious decision to take, Luka number one now, over everybody, right? Now it seems like that's the obvious decision, but 3, 4, 5 years ago, probably wasn't as obvious. You get what I'm saying? So, it's a tough job. It's a very, very tough job to be able to scout thousands of players every year and then pick one or two. And think about you got drafted and you were one of those however many thousands of players that were being scouted that particular year, and then you made the top, how many teams in the NBA? 30? So 60 draft picks, and you made the top 60 that year, And I'm glad you brought a lot of this stuff up because you talk about being from the UK. You talk about, the disadvantages you had. I mean, you guys didn't even have club team or AAU team. And I damn well know for sure if you would have grown up in the States being 6'9" at 14, you would have been on an AAU team. Your parents would have been taken care of. You for sure had the school that you would have gone to for 1 year, and then you would have gone pro the next year. And, being a 6'11", 7-foot guy that can do what you do, a top 10 pick, most likely. So, that's a huge disadvantage that you had to overcome, but also an advantage you had. You're right in the European mix. If you don't make the NBA, you got a European passport. You're right there. So you talked about that. I loved it. So let's talk about some of these regions that you played in. You played in USA, you played in Europe, you played in Asia. Talk about some of these regions. And the reason I want you to really just give your opinion on the different regions and how they differ is because, I'm around a ton of guys who easily believe, again, like you said, being from America, we think that we are the shit in everything. And for good reason. I mean, we created Google, man. Like, how can you be mad for that? We created Google and the iPhone. Come on, man.
I mean, the country's 350 years old, but I guess, it's the shit. My fiance is American. We go back and forth every day.
Every day. And see, I just gave her some ammunition, man. Google and the iPhone. I mean, period. Just chalk it up. So, but listen, the funny thing is, and it's not funny. I mean, we're talking about good players. We have thousands and thousands of players every year that are really good. I mean, could be good players or whatever. But what I know for a fact is everybody's not good enough to play pro. Everybody's good enough to maybe get a shot, that's for sure, or to get seen, but everybody's just not good enough to play. And you played in different regions, and I always hear guys say, "Oh man, if I could play in Mexico, man, I'd score in like 25 a game." And I'm just looking like, dude, it's not that easy. You know, it's not that easy to go anywhere and think that you're just going to carry a team or like be that guy. And you're a guy who's been all over the world and play. First talk about your favorite place. Let's talk about your favorite place that you love to play. Second, talk about the differences, you know, between a couple of regions, just so guys really understand, you know, how it is.
I mean, for me, I would say I grew up in basketball. I grew up in, you know, I left school at 15 and was a professional, and I just kind of learned on the fly, right? So obviously now being nearly 30, I look at the NBA and say, man, I wish I was taken care of. I wish I was taking what LeBron's taken, and I wish, you know, and whatever, being a Jared Dudley and chilling on the bench. You know what I mean? Like I look at that now, I'd be like, hey, that'd be great. But at the time of 19, when I was at the NBA, you got to be hungry, right? So you're believing that you're better. Tim Duncan was on the team. I believed I was better than him. I believed I was quicker than him. I was faster than him. I believed that, you know. No one could tell me different. And, you know, I didn't know you got to wait your time. You know, there's a plan, you know. We brought Thiago Splitter over at that time. You know, he came over 6 years after being in Europe. There's a wait in order, you know. You got to wait. So the NBA to me was a dream, but I didn't live the dream. I didn't take in every day. I just wanted to get healthy and get back and play. And I just believed that I could have been out there. I also believe the Spurs is a very, very unique organization. It's someone you got to be a certain person to be a Spur. You can't, how can I word it? You can go to certain teams in the NBA and be that good that you create your own niche, your own home, you know. But Spurs, you know, it's get here and fit in. You know, fit in or get out kind of thing. As far as Europe, I think I put it down to this with all three, right? Europe, Asian. And I only learned this until I would honestly say maybe 2026, so 3 years ago. The first years I was a nightmare. You when you come to another country, it's about fitting into that culture. You know, it's not about you believe you this nice and you're that and you're this. It's how you carry yourself. It's how you lift up other players. It's knowing that in Asia, let's go in Asia, right? Some players, as you know, they don't play full time, right? They're semi-pro. They have a job and they play basketball. Some of these guys, it's their life. It's their everything for them. It's their only way of getting out of their country to go overseas and play, and they put everything into it. So it's dealing with personalities. You're coming as an import, and if you don't perform, normally the contracts in Asia are not guaranteed, very rarely. If you don't perform, they'll change you in a heartbeat. They're paying you enough money where, you know, it's no problem for them to pay you and get rid of you and bring in a new guy. So if you're a player that likes to have control your own kind of career, you're going to play 40 minutes. You know, you're going to play a lot. But to get the real bag in Asia, you need a resume, right? You need to have played in Europe, some sort of an NBA stamp. This is, you know, 5-6 years ago I'm talking. So in Asia, I think it's going to, and I get on my missus about this, you know, you Americans, you don't like to change. You know, you like to be you because you are, as you said, greatest country in the world, right? As you believe. So
that's well, what do you believe? What do you believe?
I don't believe that. I don't believe that. But to me, you have to fit in. It doesn't matter if you go in a gym and say, these guys are trash. They're fucking bums. Yo, I'm fucking nice. I'm this, I'm that, I'm this. When in America, a lot of overseas Americans, they come to a new team because I've played so many, they're different. They're not the same guy they are in the States. They're putting on a persona up front. They're trying to come across hard or tough. You got to absorb and embrace the culture of whatever country you're in. Try to learn the language. You know, help the young guys on the team. You know, don't get offended by things that they might be or come across because you're coming into their home. I'm not going to come into your house and do what the fuck I want, am I? I'm going to be respectful, and that carries into the professional side. And a lot of players don't know that. They think, yo, I'm the American or I'm the import. I'll do what the fuck I want. I'm going to shoot 40 times. Yeah, that can work. You can make all your shots so they can go in and you can win and you can play well and maybe you'll win a championship. But it's the relationships and it's the acceptance of, you know, if you make the coach feel like he's doing a good job or the assistants and you're listening to him, if you can embrace all that, you'll have a very rich, healthy career in Asia. But I will say that it helps to have a name to get to Asia, in my opinion, right? Now, going over to Europe, it's there's a lot of politics, man. There's a lot of buyouts. So young guys have large buyouts, NBA buyouts. So they want to promote and push. For example, let's say you have a player that's 20 years old, right? 18, 20 years old, and he has NBA potential. And if he gets drafted this upcoming year, he needs to play. So he needs to be on the stage. So your minutes might be limited. You might be taking a step back to let this guy play. If he gets drafted, if he gets picked up, then the team gets $2 million. Right? The NBA, I don't know what it is now, but back then they could pay $500,000 and then you had to find the rest of the money. So it's a business. It's a lot more fans. The fans are involved a lot more. It's doing the right thing. But I don't believe that it's about basketball only when you're being a professional. They say take care of your body and eat right and this, but it's playing the game. It's just like any business or any real job you have. It's not like you can't come into a day in the office, and your boss is telling you to get him let's say an English muffin for the sake of me being British, an English muffin and a cup of tea. You can't say, oh, fuck, no, I don't do that shit. You got to play the game. And that is where I think there's a pedestal, even if there's a guy on your team that's a vet and he doesn't even play, but he's had some great history with the club or he's done some great things with the club. And he's trash. He's terrible. This guy can't hold you in practice but you see how the team respects him. You see how the fans respect him. So it's coming in and it's being a part of something bigger than you with every country you go to, I believe, every league you go to. But I think that answers your question, man, from my side of my view of how I see it. But from my experiences, for me, it's Iran. Iran was the best place I played by far.
Nice. I played there too. Tehran was crazy, man. It was like New York City.
You're a legend out
without
there.
Without that kind of nightlife, like the public nightlife. But it was all right. The food, the experience was great.
Yeah, for sure. It was to me. It was. Financially it was great. The competition was good. It opened up gateways and doorways to China where, you can get a real bag over there. So to me, I loved it. I was there for like 4 years. And I fitted in because I was older. I was at 24 at the time. So I learned to understand, someone else's culture. I learned to understand that, hey, I could make a real good career here. If I win games and I do my job and I'm a professional and I'm likable and I'm coachable, no matter whether the coach is terrible or not, I could hang around there and make some real money. So to me, I did very well there.
Yeah, that's what's up, man. And that's a great answer. And I'm glad you brought a lot of that stuff up about being a part of something bigger than yourself and being about, and playing the game, and we've had a lot of guys come on the show and say the same thing. A lot of like bona fide professional athletes and basketball players and coaches say, look, you gotta understand that you go somewhere, you have to embrace that culture or be fully immersed in the environment and stuff like that, man. So I'm glad you say that. And
don't look at the next step. Don't look at where am I going next year. Don't look at, I'm going to make this much next year. Don't think about that because that's where you start going wrong. I used to do that when I was younger. I'm making this much this year, but next year I'll make this much and I'm going to go here and I'm going to go there. Enjoy it because it's so short. Like, you played for a long time. You played till late 40s, right? Sorry, late 30s.
Whoa. Right? I'm 42 now, man. Good God, man. Late 30s, 17 years. Jesus Christ, man.
I just remember I think at halftime you was getting in the cryotherapy in Bahrain. So I think at halftime. So that's what I'm remembering. So
hey, man, I had to do everything I had to do to keep up with you young bucks, man. I had never iced before, like before games, after games. I'm stretching at halftime. I was like, what is going on? Keeping up with you young whippersnappers.
You asked me to come. You asked me to come. You said, yo, you want to come? You want to come? I said, nah, man, I'm good. Now, if you ask me to come, I'll be the first one there.
Oh, 100%, man. Hey, look, we're getting short on time, man. So, cool. I've got one more question for you, man. And I know a lot of guys think that, getting paid to play is great. That's it. Like it's all sweet, and that's what the perception is, man. But I know you've had some negative moments in your career. What are some of the biggest challenges that you faced and how did you overcome them?
Biggest challenges for me was injuries. I've had a fair few amount of injuries. But the way I overcome them was by, learning why I'm getting injured, kind of looking in the mirror. You know, it was the same injuries. You know, it wasn't anything new. And it was really kind of being professional as far as, you know, you're 7 foot, you know, you're a big guy, you move well. You know, what do you need? What do you need to, you know, not have ankle problems or back problems or calf, you know? And it was really looking in a mirror and seeing how I could do it. And I didn't do it until my body started breaking down. When my body started breaking down, then I realized. I wish I had someone say, yo, look after your body in your 20s, because then when you get to your 30s, it's a breeze, or it's a lot easier, you know? So that's the biggest thing to me. It was being drafted, thinking I'm going down to San Antonio, having my press conference ready, failing my medical, and them telling me they're not going to sign me for the season. I cried. I cried like a baby, man. I think I smashed up I smashed up my hotel room. I was, you know, in tears, man. I had a ticket ready for mom to fly out, everything. You know, it was devastating. But I had to get surgery and get healthy to pass medical before they picked me up, you know. So that was the hardest thing for me, and how I picked myself up, if I'm honest, was using that as fuel, you know, to prove to them, like, hey, you know, I deserve to be on this team. But yeah, that's what I would say. It's injuries, and then looking in the mirror and just maturing, man. You know, your health's your wealth. Your body's your temple. You know, if your body starts breaking down or something's not working, it's just a matter of time, you know, before the whole thing collapses. So that's what I would say, man.
Man, that's a great knowledge that I think all players, especially young players, because a lot of young players, they don't get injured, and only people that have been injured can truly understand the magnitude of how hard it is to get back and how much it can affect your career, man. So I'm so glad that you brought that up, and it could significantly change your career. And I've seen some players, you know, have that one major injury and their life changes, you know, but for the worse, you know, like there's no more basketball. There's, you know, they can't figure out what to do or you know, how to take their take whatever career or whatever ideas they have to the next level to be, you know, successful in other areas. And fortunately enough for you, maybe you didn't play for the Spurs and they thought that, you know, like you weren't going to recover as well as you did. And, you know, now look at it, 6-7 years later, still playing, still doing your thing, you know, still balling out of control, which I love it, man. But hey, tell everybody how to find you on social media, man, just in case anybody's got any other questions for you.
So look, any guys out there that want to, you know, advice, I want to help you. You know, I want you guys to be better than me, do better than me. You know, I've played everywhere, you know, especially from the European side. I can help. I can give kids and people a path. So Ryan Richards, of course, the original _ Geezer. I don't know if you Americans can spell that, but hopefully you can. But yeah, find me, man.
Hey, man, you're taking like I told you, we brought Google and we brought the iPhone, and you're gonna try to what's up, man? You've been taking a lot of shots at us, man. What's up?
I mean, I'm married to an American, so I made a mistake, man. And I get it every day. So I gotta fight for myself. But no, like any hoopers that want advice, they want to reach out to me. I've been there, I've lived there, I've done it. Loren done it, he's done it too, you know, and he's done it better than I have, you know. So it's about asking, it's about reaching out. Don't be too cool to reach out and to ask. But the biggest thing is take care of yourself. Think of a plan B. I know it's not nice to think of a plan B, but, you know, take care of yourself, think of a plan B and reach out. Don't be scared to ask. Don't be scared to say, yo, but you got to buy in. You got to buy in anywhere you go. Anywhere you go, buy in. And enjoy the moment. Enjoy being there for that moment, and worry about next season in the summertime. But Ryan Richards, Facebook, Ryan Richards, Twitter, and Original Geezer on Instagram.
I love it, man. Hey, and listen to what Ryan said. Definitely reach out to him, you know, with any questions, because, you know, like he's got a story that's very different from a lot of the guests that we've had, again, because of the being in Europe, being in a city that didn't have AAU, you know, having to go play in the park, having to, you know, just be seen and saying, which I'm so glad that, you know, you were so candid about the experience. You didn't know which way to go. You didn't have the guidance. You didn't have the knowledge back then, but you have the knowledge now, and you can help pull somebody else through so they don't have to go through the same things you have, man. Ryan, hey, I appreciate everything, man. It's been an awesome show. You know, be well out there, be safe, and we'll talk soon, my guy.
100%, brother. Look after yourself.
Yes, sir. Well, there you have it, man. And, you know, like one thing that I love about Ryan's story is something that's like, you know, it's so unique in one aspect. I mean, it's very similar to a lot of stories of a lot of guys that's in the U.S., with the exception of, you know, when Ryan, you know, going through all the battles, going through the tough times, going through the injuries, going through all that. But in Ryan's case, when Ryan was, you know, when I was 14, I was 6'9". You know, Ryan and myself are the same height. You know, I'm 7 feet. Ryan's about 7 feet. Ryan might be about 6'11". I don't know. You know, we might have to check his height, but, you know, you know, when I was 6'9", 14 years old, you know, I had already played AAU for 2 years. You know, I had already been on a team that won the AAU national championship. I already had that exposure. You know, then I went to a high profile high school that had a coach that kind of knew the way. You know, I had that guidance because he had already had All-Americans, and he had already had players that had gone Division I and that had played, you know, high level. So I had that guidance, but Ryan didn't even have that, man. Ryan was, you know, he was 6'9", 14 and dribbling in a park that didn't have no baskets, no rims, and, you know, got found out that way. Like, how does that happen? There's no way that would happen nowadays, man. Anybody 6'9", I don't care where you from, they're going to find you. Like you said, man, you be in Africa somewhere, walking around Africa about 6'10" at 11 years old. Boy, you be on the first thing smoking to the States on somebody's AAU program or somebody's, you know, prep school. But, you know, he got seen like that. Then, you know, went to Spain, was just a young kid playing pro when he was 16 years old. And, you know, then played in the Hoop Summit. I played in the Hoop Summit. I remember, you know, it's ballers in the Hoop Summit, the all-world team against the all-USA team. You know, there's some ballers out there. And, you know, he named a few names, you know, that guys that played in the NBA and had long, very successful careers. And he was right up there with them. And, you know, it's just, everybody's got a tough story. You know, it's some people that have that way that's paved for them, and, you know, they have the guidance from the beginning, and they have the exposure from the beginning, and it's a little bit easier path. You know, it's not easy. It's just a little bit easier than if you don't have that. So that's one thing, man. Another thing is the advice that he gave about being a professional, you know, and mind you, he's not from the States. You know, he spent a lot of time in the States training, you know, got drafted by the Spurs. You know, but he spent most of, you know, a lot of his time in Europe, playing in Europe and Asia. But even coming from the UK and knowing, being in a different environment, he's got a totally different attitude. You know, like he already said it, like, you know, Americans, we come in thinking that we the shit. I don't care where we are. It's like, nah, you know, whatever. I mean, I'm the same way right now at 42. I don't care what game I'm playing. I don't care if it's a video game. I don't care if you give me a tennis racket. I don't care if you give me anything that's a game. I think I'm going to be the best at it if I'm not already the best at it. You know, that's just a part of being American. So I'm not going to apologize for that. I actually love it. But, you know, like one thing that he said, it was great advice. It's about fitting into the culture, no matter where you go. And he's from the UK, you know, and his whole thing, he went from the UK to Spain, and then Spain to, you know, USA, and then USA back to Europe, and then Europe back to, you know, to the Middle East, to Iran. And then, you know, like I played on the same team with him in Bahrain. And then he went from there and went to other places. So we're talking about a guy who's been around the world. And if this one thing that he said you got to fit into other people's culture. It's about being a part of something bigger than you. Absorb, embrace everything. Anytime you get into these situations where, you know, you got to be somewhere where you're not used to being, where you're not comfortable being. If you're an American and you leave the States for the first time and go play in Iran, you know, that's a whole different environment, man. But it's about fitting in, being a part of something bigger, man. And it's not always about basketball. That's one thing that he said, and everybody that we've had on the show has said this, and they've been in agreement. Man, it is a business. It's not just a game. It's a business, and it's political. I mean, you could be playing. I've seen this before for sure. You could be playing behind a guy who's like a young guy for that country, and that young guy needs to get promoted because that young guy is the future. So you might be playing behind that guy or be splitting time with that guy, and you have to understand that this is not about just you, you know, because you're in somebody else's country. You are to go there to help them out. You're in that situation to be like, you know, a guy who's going to be the support system, you know, and a lot of times, you know, being from America, I've been in a situation before. I've gone into situations, but like, no, I'm the guy. I want to be the number one option. I want to be this. And in all actuality is I'm the guy that's going to go and help the team. I'm the guy that they brought in to help the team win. You know, it's not about my team. It's about helping the team. So, you know, a lot of stuff happens, man. It's not just basketball. It's a business and it can be political. Just keep that in mind. Anyway, man, you know, anybody who can benefit from the show, please share it. You know, we're out to try to help as many people as we can, man. Help as many young ballers, help old ballers. You know, help anybody find their way in this game, this basketball game, this game of life, whatever. We're here to help. Got any questions, anything that you want to talk about, anything that you want me to address, shoot me a message. My personal IG, Mr. Loren Woods, MrLorenWoods. That's on IG. Oh, and on Twitter, same. Or you can send a message to mglow_US, IMGLLO_US. IG and Twitter. Other than that, y'all stay fortunate and be blessed.
I don't take days off, do I? When my number is called, I don't take plays off, do I? I'ma always give you 20 and 10, no matter how much you wanna pretend that I ain't clutch with it. I don't do the load management, baby I can handle it. When the heat is on, I can manage it. I'm kinda like James Harden's career, I can walk whenever I feel, and that's facts. It's like the clock's ticking down a notch.